Hi, my name is Allison Maklik, and this is my podcast. It's called When the Dog Bites. And what happened to me is last April, the dog bit me. You can see my scar still. But a funny thing happened. My life actually turned upside down in the best way. And all I want to do is talk to people about their own crazy thing that happened, their own dog bite, and then their stories of resiliency. So come on in. We're going to get real. We're going to get vulnerable. And I promise you, you will leave inspired and knowing that you can do hard things too.
Hi everyone, Allison here. We have a very fun, different conversation for you today. Different in unconventional. So if you're watching live or watching the video, you can see my guest is actually in his car. We'll get to that. But this is kind of fun in how this all started. So we love to talk about resiliency here. And I was listening to NPR and I heard Sean talk about his story so much. I have literally never done this. I pulled over and I messaged him on Instagram. I didn't have his Instagram. I messaged his company that he's going to talk about Instagram handle. And I said, hi, this is a real person. I promise you, I want to talk to you. We have this podcast that we're filming called When the Dog Bites. Would you be a guest? And you're about to meet and listen to the most kind, wonderful human that I've met in a long time. And he was like, yeah. And then it's been crazy scheduling. And of course, our third time today, you're in the car. But it's fine. That's how we roll. We're friends now.
Exactly. Allison, thank you so much. Hey, yeah, we make it work no matter what.
We do. So with that, Sean, welcome to When the Dog Bites. Hello. How's your day going so far?
It's hectic as always, but I'm here and I'm ready to talk away and love the energy that we're both bringing here.
I know, you're literally pulled over on the side of the road in a plaza, so thank you for your dedication. The sound is great, by the way. It sounds great. You look great.
Thank you. Shout out to Apple for the great quality for iPhones.
Okay, so I don't want to give anything away because that's going to be later in the podcast, kind of how, what you do now. But I'd love some background. I only heard when I was listening to you on NPR kind of from college forward and your whole life changed, but you can even go back a little bit. Just kind of tell the audience who you are, your values, different things, and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Sure. It is a loaded background, but let me try to make it as concise as possible so it's easy to digest for the readers. So hi, everyone, whoever's listening. My name is Sean Chang. I'm a 27-year-old Korean-American, second generation, living in Atlanta, Georgia. I was actually born in Los Angeles, California, to first-generation Korean parents.
That's awesome.
And we grew up in Downey, downtown LA. They worked in the fashion industry, particularly my dad. My mom was a stay-at-home mom at the time. And I grew up in a very heavily Latino, Mexican kind of community with Korean as well, being that I'm Korean and my extended family's Korean. So it was a very unique experience growing up. I have very fond memories of going to work with my dad in Fashion District for his warehouse and then coming out for lunch with him onto these taco trucks and eating on these plastic stools.
Oh, yeah.
And after work, we'd go meet all of our aunts and uncles to eat Korean food. So it was a plethora of delicious food growing up as a kid. And interesting enough, we had Argentinian Korean fusion it's called asado, but it's Argentinian grilled meats as our family reunion food instead of like traditional Korean, mainly because before they immigrated to America, they lived in Argentina first to learn textile. That's how they got into the fashion district in LA. And yeah, with my parents, it's going to take us a little sidetrack. My parents got divorced when I was 8. And so I moved from one coast to the other coast. We moved all the way to Beaufort, Georgia when I was 8 years old, 2006, just a little bit before the financial crisis. And it was a complete culture shock. I went from vibrant LA, bustling, and, there's so much diversity in a sense. And then I went to rural Georgia and I was like one of the only Korean kids in my class. And everybody else were white and black folks. And I was like, this is so different. I don't know where the heck I am. We have to drive way too far to get any Korean or ethnic market. Yeah, all my neighbors at the time were farmers, and we were the only subdivision on Mill Road, the road that I grew up at the time. So like we'd wake up, and as a fourth grader walking to my bus stop at the front of the neighborhood, we just hear cows mooing everywhere.
Okay, so
Uh,
I feel like your like experience with resiliency started at 8 years old. Like
yeah,
a
maybe.
long time. Like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine the culture shock that must have been. Like, where are we?
Exactly. I was so. I mean, when you're young, it's easy to adapt to change very quickly. But at the same time, I think that was the time where I still have very vivid memories of me feeling like, Dad, where the heck did you take us to?
Yes, and even the food, like were you just like, this is not good?
So yeah, I mean that's why I have a very soft spot to American chains, like Chili's.
Yeah.
Like I grew up on that was the age that I started growing up on, American chain restaurants, Applebee's, Chili's, like Little Caesars, because that's kind of what was around the area. And I'm not saying the food is terrible, but it's obviously not amazing like LA. But it has a very like the feeling of nostalgia hits very hard every time I'm at restaurants like that.
Okay, to be fair, I grew up in this small town in Texas called Garland, and we had Chili's and On the Border, and we called it OTB. And like that's it. That's like that was exciting. Let's go out to
Sure.
dinner. And that's what I thought before I went to Austin for college. Like I thought that was
Oh my.
good food. I had no idea. None. I was like, "Oh my gosh." Yeah, I get it. Okay, so you're in Atlanta. You're like, "What are we doing?" And then how was growing up? Like did you adjust?
I think I adjusted quite well. I really enjoyed my childhood. It was difficult, don't get me wrong. I had a stepmom, and that was really rough. She was a bit abusive and things of
Oh.
that nature. But, I had my younger brother. We had a nanny that took care of us as well, too. Um, but I made the boast. We were going through this era of technology, right? When YouTube started becoming an actual thing, when
Mhm.
internet it wasn't dial-up internet anymore. Like mobile phones were becoming digital with digital screens. So we had a lot of technology explode. So I think that kept us very occupied. And it was also a time where people were going outside of their. It's not prevalent today, I don't think, but back then, like I think I call it the last generation for me, where we still went outside to play, manhunt or flag football in our neighborhood with all the neighborhood kids, or
Yeah.
like any of the farm kids around. They would just come to our neighborhood because we had so many people in our neighborhood and pool parties and things like that. So I really enjoyed, as crazy of a culture shock that it was still an enjoyable time that I had growing up as a kid.
Yeah. Okay, so I heard on NPR when you were talking that you were going to school. So we're going to fast forward high school. You're now in
Sure.
college. You were going to be a doctor. Were you in med
Yeah.
school already? Or were you like freshman year of college?
Freshman year of college at Georgia, I was on a
Okay.
pre-med track.
Okay.
So yeah, and
Pre-med.
tons of
Got it.
scholarships. And I wasn't. I was following in the footsteps of my dad, in this thought of there's a running joke between Asians like you have to be a doctor or something like that. I was very much so for my dad as well too. And so I studied pretty well, and I not that I was fully committed to being one, but I was like, okay, I got here this far. I have other friends in the same track. Let's just keep going. But at the same time, like in high school, I was like, again, with YouTube, I got to see so many different representations of Asian American chefs that were really doing something outside of Georgia, like especially LA and New York.
Yeah.
And that really piqued an interest in my life because I grew up with really good food in LA, and that's something I longed for when I moved to Georgia. And we had great home cooked meals, and I felt like, wow, Georgia is missing a lot of great, like a good food scene. And with that, like I skipped a lot in my senior year of school, and that time I actually skipped to cook for my friends that skipped with me. So they were excited that we were skipping, not that we skipped school, but they're like, "Oh, Sean's gonna cook for us. This is gonna be great."
Okay, so
And
you knew that, like the cooking that's always been in you the whole time.
exactly, it was exposed to me as a young kid in both flavors and just family settings. And then it's just something I continue to have interest in while growing up as well too. And so when I'm at Georgia, I'm at a dorm called 1516, and at the time that dorm, it was like a multi, I guess, what would you call it, like class dorm where it's not just a freshman dorm. You've got from freshmen to senior, it's all mixed. So that kind of freshman feeling wasn't there per se.
Yeah.
Everyone was really closed doors to themselves, and I was like, this is not the way to experience. I went to Georgia. Like, if you know anything about Georgia, it's a party school. So I was like, and I go visit my friends at Bolton, or like after we eat at Bolton and go over to their dorms. It's so social. Everyone's chatting. Everyone's just getting to know each other. I'm like, man, my place feels like a dump, despite how expensive it is. Like, sure, I might have my own bathroom, but who the heck cares about your own bathroom if you can't make any friends?
Yeah.
So I took it upon myself to start cooking on every odd floor. So 1, 3, and 5 had kitchens. And so I would cook on the 3rd floor on Friday evenings, and had a sign on the door that said, hey, come, free food, just sit down and just chat. And
I have goosebumps. That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You know, I wasn't super confident in what I was doing in terms of cooking. Again, at that time, it wasn't anything professional. It was just what I've learned from cookbooks and just YouTube and, you know, my experience cooking with family members. But it was confident enough to at least throw down a dish a little bit better than what school was serving at the time.
Yeah.
And it was great. I had a lot of people that came in and you know, all different walks of life, all different parts of Georgia, and people who are from out of state. And I was like, why did you come to Georgia from, you know, I met people from Hawaii, and I was like, why would you ever leave Hawaii?
Yeah,
and seriously. It was a great way to expose myself to cooking and being more social, and continue this drive and spark that I had for saying, oh, okay, maybe cooking is something I really want to do instead of this whole doctor thing.
Yeah. Would you buy all the food too?
Yeah, nobody paid anything. It was on my dime. Yeah.
How long did you do this?
Probably the whole first semester. Yeah.
So you got kind of like a name of like Sean's gonna cook some good food.
Yeah, for the most part, and it was a small regular crowd of like 5 to 7 people that came in, but with those 5 to 7 people, it kind of, you know, had this like spiderweb effect where you got to meet other people that they introduced and things like that.
Wow, that's incredible. So this is just a random aside, but last week, because I was saying in my full-time life, I'm a corporate girly, and we had a big summit, and Liz Wiseman spoke, and she was talking about, the multipliers and impact players lady, and she was talking about how to identify impact players, and what you just said of like, everyone had their doors closed, everyone was not like, how can I bring my talents to this to make it better? And like, that's exactly what you did. Like, you were an impact player and you didn't even realize it. You were just like, I want friends and I'm good at cooking. Let's go. And you just did it.
I saw that no one else was like taking the chance to do something. Yeah. So it was more of like, oh, why not? It's not going to hurt. Yeah. No, if no one shows up, I'm still going to have good food for myself.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So talk to us about what happened your freshman year and then when you made the pivot.
Yeah. So going into second year, I finished this, this happened, this is January, or second semester, first year. Okay. January, I had, I just finished Passion. It's a huge Christian conference, held in Atlanta. And I kind of really took it upon myself to really consider, oh man, is med school really the path for me? And I was like praying about it. I was like, God, I really want to just cook. Whether it's a calling, would you just answer in some way, shape, or form? And then 2 weeks later, I was finishing my entry accounting exams, and I went to go see my friends in Duluth. Duluth is kind of like the Koreatown of Georgia. And we went out for, I think it was Korean barbecue, and then we had desserts after, and we were staying out really late. No drinking or anything like that. Very wholesome interactions. We were just freshman kids just enjoying our life on a weekend, on a Friday night. And then it was like 2 o'clock, and I was going to go drive over to my buddy's house because I was so tired from finishing exams and being out late. And my dad's like, I want you to come home, and just so I know that you're home and safe, come home. And I was like, oh, really, Dad, do I have to? And he's like, yes. And so I did, and I had fell asleep while driving on the highway of 85. And then I woke up for a split second, and I saw, oh my God, this is a roundabout right in front of me. And so I'm like, this is all what's going on in like a fraction of a second. I look at my side mirror. I'm like, okay, I can just go to the left lane and just go straight. But there's a car coming really quick behind me, so I'm not trying to hit them. So I'm braking as fast as I can, hoping that they pass me so I can go behind. And then I run out of pavement on the roundabout. And then my car goes flying. I hit the ditch, and then from the impact, it continues to go up, and I hit a tree. And the moment that I hit the tree, my back had broke. I didn't know at the time, and I had lost all sensation in my legs. The feeling when your arm or foot falls asleep? Imagine that, but half of your body. That's what it felt like instantly. And then I obviously couldn't move, and my life kind of flashed before my eyes, and that slow-mo, like Matrix kind of feel like scene that,
Yes.
and it felt like an eternity, but it was really just 5 seconds. That all happened as well too, and my glasses fell off my face, all the stuff was all over the place, and I realized, oh man, I crashed. And then I'm like screaming and panicking because I can't I thought I was just gonna be able to get up, but I can't. I'm stuck, and I'm like, oh my God. And so I had a quick prayer. I'm like, okay, God, if I die, let my parents know that I love them so much. Thank you for the life that you gave me. Yeah. And then I get this overwhelming sense of peace, like, Sean, everything's gonna be okay. You might not walk again, but just know, like, things are gonna be okay. And you call it like a voice of God, and I was like, okay, that's kind of creepy. Sure, let's go on. And so I bent over with the broken back, and again, I didn't know I had a broken back. It's the first time I ever broke any bone in my body. So
Oh my
I
gosh.
was trying to, because it's 2 a.m. in the morning, nobody's on the highway. That car that passed by me, it's already gone. And I bent over with a broken back and found my phone, and I called 911. And in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have done that, but I didn't know. But bending over caused more swelling in my spinal cord, which caused more permanent damage. So there was also this thing where, like, oh, if I just waited, maybe, I would have walked again. But at the same time, I had a burst fracture, so the bones in my body kind of like split into tons of pieces, and I was bleeding internally as well too.
Oh my
Apparently.
gosh, Sean.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm like dying, right? But then I'm like told, like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. So I'm like really trusting in that at that moment. And so the police officers come first, and they're trying to do a drug test on me, and I'm telling him, like, I think I'm paralyzed, I can't move. I'm like, hey, like, why are you trying to do a breathalyzer on me? Like, I can't even get out the car. And then, the fire department comes, they're arguing with the cops and saying, like, hey, like, his safety is more important. We gotta tear open the car door because it's jammed. It was a whole ordeal. And then, I get in the hospital, the EMT, they sent me in the hospital. And I realized, like, how effed it is, because one doctor comes and they leave, and then he brings another doctor, and then they're doing all sorts of stuff and talking, and then they leave, and another doctor comes. I'm like, okay, I've never seen so many doctors come. I usually you're just one. They triage and then it's gone, and then they're poking me, asking questions, and they're like, hey, are you able to call your mom? Are you in any pain? And so I call my mom, and then time passes. I still don't know what's going on. And I think about that moment every time, and my heart still sinks. I just remember her walking through that door. Her eyes are dewy. She's like trembling in her voice, and she says, like, she says in Korean, "Adra, 괜찮아?" which means, son, are you okay? And I'm like bawling in tears, because I don't know how to tell her, like, I don't think it's gonna be, like, I don't think I'm okay, like, the way that you see me right now. And then it's harsh. And then I kind of start piecing together, oh, wow, this is kind of really, really, really bad. This is really serious. And so from there, they gave me Dilaudid, which is a really heavy, I think it's like a form of morphine, but it's a drug that gets you super loopy, making you feel super great. So my memory gets a little in and out from there. It's very patchy. But I remember my surgery was supposed to be 6, ended up being 8, so it started terrifying my parents and everybody who was there. And, once I came out of it, again, they didn't know, what the prognosis was, like, if I'd ever walk again. And when you get a spinal cord injury, doctors tell you, not that you'll never walk again, but they say there's a 99.9% chance you won't walk again, which is their legal way of saying, hey, you're probably never going to walk again. And so, that was very heavy news to think. And at the time, I still couldn't accept it. And I went through so much time, even after rehab, trying to face that. And, that was a very rough time. But even in that moment after surgery too, I was so thankful to be alive. And was trying to be as positive as possible, to be as strong for my parents, just knowing how devastated they are. Parents, number one thing that they love in the world, for most good parents, it's their children, and seeing
Yeah.
their children so hurt, they would give up anything to help them.
Oh
And
my
so I
gosh.
remember that we were going to be transferred to Children's Hospital of Atlanta, or CHOA, for my rehab, but we were really trying to get into Shepherd, which was like the #1 spinal cord treatment center in Atlanta. And we had a quick prayer, and then literally 30 minutes goes by, and they're like, "Hey, a room opened up. They can take you in." And I was
Wow.
like, "Holy cow, that's crazy." And then at Shepherd too, it was an amazing team. And at Shepherd, I really had a one-to-one where I said, "Okay, God, I got to think about my life realistically. Like, I know you said I might not walk again, so I'm gonna keep praying that I potentially could, but at the same time, could you like open doors for me? Like, I still want to cook. I don't want to close that door. It was something that I had my heart on for a while, so I might drop medical, but would you allow me to like pursue this? Like, could you really give peace and solace in my life as I go through this with my family?" Like, I'm terrified. I don't know because my life is changing so fast. At the same time, life continues to go on despite
Yeah.
such crazy things happening in your life. And like, I
Oh.
had to sort out how am I going to catch up on school. I don't want to be behind.
Okay, okay,
Like,
okay. Hang on. Okay, let Oh my gosh. Okay, I just cried. I don't know how you get through that without crying. Like my brain, like watching you and talking to you right now, and then thinking back to that moment. Like, oh my gosh, I want to dive into like how you became the person you are today. But I did have two
sure,
questions. How
go
old were
ahead.
you when this happened?
18.
18. Okay.
Yeah,
And what year was this?
2016.
Oh my gosh. Okay. 2016. Sorry, I'm just like placing myself there. And then how soon after when you woke up did they start doing rehab?
So it took
Like I'm
about
watching
a
you right
whole
now
week.
and I'm like, how are this my mind because I've never met you in person. So my mind is
Sure.
like blown right now.
It took about a week. So after my surgery was done, I had to recover from that surgery, and then they had to sort out logistically what kind of rehab center I was going to go to, what insurance takes it, things of that nature. And then I was going through, when you have surgery like that, a lot of patients do get pneumonia, or
Oh,
like, yeah, because you're so weak, you're not really breathing well as well too. So I had to come through a lot. And your normal bodily functions, like this might be TMI, but for a lot of spinal cord, you lose the ability for like regular bowel and
yeah.
like urinary function. So like your body has to process that as well too to find its new normal. So I was backed up for like a whole week that I hadn't used the restroom, and so they gave me meds to help relieve gas and things like that, but I was still in so much pain. And
Oh.
it was a wild week, even that initial day after surgery.
Okay, so first of all, nothing is TMI with me. I'll talk about anything. But I know we've talked about this not on the recording, but almost brother-in-law in 2 months, he had a similar accident in college, and I think it was his neck that broke, and
Mm.
he's in a wheelchair. And I've learned so much over the past. It happened in 5 years ago about his bathroom, like the process and what that looks
Yep.
like, and his bag and things that like I think probably 5 years ago would have been embarrassing. And I'm like, no, this is just a part of life. Like this is
Yeah.
just what we have to do, to
Yeah.
help. So don't ever feel like, oh my gosh, it's too much. But okay, how are you feeling? Do you want to take a break for a minute and then we're going to come back and talk about what happened after?
Sure. I mean, I can keep going. If you need a small little water break, by all means.
Oh yeah, we won't stop, but we'll just take a minute and then okay, hang on everybody. We'll be back with you right after this break.
Okay, if you're listening, you probably just heard a really powerful, intense story. Before we get to the resiliency part, I just want to take a minute. Thank you for listening. This is where an ad would go. And if you're listening thinking, hey, I could be that person, please reach out. But I do want to remind you, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Allison Makalik. That's where we're going to have a ton of behind the scenes. You can see how this all comes together. And with that, let's jump back in.
Okay, we're back. Whew, I had to take some water, take a minute. I'm sweating. I cried. Like, Sean, you're also such like an incredible storyteller. I was like right there with you. Whew, okay. So, a lot of really insane things happened, but you had your faith and you had like your soul and your spirit.
Hmm.
Like, and I feel like it never broke, which I think that would have broken a lot of people. Um,
Yeah.
and it sounds like it didn't. Like just watching you here right now, like you're positive and you're kind and you're a good human. Like, talk to us about how you started living. Sounds like what you've been supposed to do since you were 8 years old, maybe
Oh
even
man,
sooner, as to who you are now, like how this kind of transformed into this life that you live every single day.
sure. I think it became a life of gratitude. Like every single moment that I wake up is a precious moment. It's another life to give thanks to. I've also realized like, hey, if I can go at any time, I might as well live the best life that I can. Meaning that, hey, I used to be very shy. I couldn't talk in front of people. Like even in college while I did that, that was a huge step for me. But still at the same time, I was a very reserved person. But I don't mind talking to any strangers now. And
I can
it's a
tell.
joy.
I can tell.
um,
It's like you're like lit up from the inside. Like I
yeah.
talk to a lot of people, a lot of people all day, every day, in all aspects of my life. And it's so rare to like feel someone's joy. And like I know you're in your car and we're coming through on this, and it's like I can feel your joy. Like I just think so many people, of course they can be resilient, but then to like have that joy, it's so rare and beautiful. So just know that as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That means a lot, actually. I think just giving that energy to help anybody to uplift themselves is, I think I've just become a very optimistic and completely new person despite all the challenges I continue to face. Because realistically, challenges will continue to go your way through the end of time. It's just staying positive through it, knowing that there is a greener side to it at the end if you continue to persevere.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think this newfound joy after I got injured was super big for me because I didn't have to take any antidepressants during rehab. I found out that a lot of people did take antidepressants, and rightfully so. I understand that. Every disability for spinal cord injury is very different. Like if you're a neck injury, I've seen people who are become quads, so they have limited hand functions. I've also seen some very unique ones where they have something called central cord syndrome, where they can't move their arms at all or hands, but they can walk perfectly fine. So it's really crazy. Like, and we had conversations like, would you rather walk or would you rather have your hands? Like, and those are real questions. And they used to think like, those are like fun pastime, random questions that you would never in a million years think about, but it
Yeah.
became a reality while we were at rehab.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Wow. I've never asked. I mean, we're gonna ask my husband tonight. Like, let's like talk about it. But we actually did kind of have some of those conversations after Jaime, like of my brother-in-law, like,
mhm.
oh wow, like you just take life so for granted. So like you said, like living a life of gratitude, it's like you're like literally every day in that place. Like that's the place I think a lot of us want to get to, is just living in that space of gratitude every single
Mhm.
day. I think you should be, just a side note here, I think you should be a motivational speaker.
You're not the first person to tell me that. I actually don't even know where to even begin with that, but that'd be cool. I mean, I'm busy running my restaurants, but there's
Yeah.
a lot of things I want to do in life. Life's so short. Like, I want to do
Yeah.
acting. I'd be a motivational speaker. I actually
Yeah.
play a lot of wheelchair tennis, so I want to be a professional wheelchair tennis player too. Like,
Yeah.
the world's your oyster as long as you put your time and energy, and I think anyone can do anything. It's not just limited to myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm just gonna start putting things out in the universe and like think who I can connect you with. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Okay. Real fast. Let's talk about the restaurant. Let's talk about this dream that you did and that you're doing every single day. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So speedrun, my co-founder, best friend Peter, he came to visit. We met at a church retreat, and we didn't connect for a couple of years, and then he met me at the hospital. One of the very few people in my life that actually came to visit me. You'd be surprised, um, the like when you go through something so traumatic, and those moments expose who are genuine people in your life.
Wow.
Peter, although we weren't close, we were in the same small group at that church retreat, and so we were familiar with each other as brothers. But yeah, he came in, just checked up on me, and we just had a light joke because I was telling him, hey, I think I'm gonna drop out of Georgia and go to Georgia State for hospitality for a full ride. And he's like, yo, do you need anyone to live with? And I was like, are you sure, Peter? He's like, yeah, why not? Because I didn't know what living in I've been at the hospital, I don't know what living
Yes.
out in the normal world looks like. And he's like, with no hesitation, he's like, yeah, I think it'd be pretty fun. And so
Wow.
he's going to Georgia Tech. I'm going to Georgia State. I'm trying to get. I'm also doing a hospitality degree focused in restaurants. Obviously, staying in that lane at the time. And I'm trying to get my toes in. Because calling people, cold calling, and telling them, hey, I'm in a wheelchair, but this is the industry I want to work in. Can I work for free? Can I stage here? Or can I do herb work or anything? And everyone's kind of looking at the wheelchair, and they're like, hey, obviously they can't discriminate, but they're like, oh, like I don't think this position is like a good fit. Like logistically, it's gonna be really hard to accommodate in the kitchen. Yeah, things like that. And so a lot of shutdowns. So at the meantime, at that, despite that happening, I'm still cooking at home for me and Peter. Peter's favorite food is Pop-Tarts and scrambled eggs. Very easygoing guy. So anything I cook for him, he absolutely loved it. And so we are cooking. He's like, Sean, you're really good at this. And kind of stroking my ego. I was like, yo, let's invite people over. And we shot ideas. And funny enough, Peter, despite his very basic palate, it's improved a lot since then. He was working at fine dining restaurants like Polaris, Umi, but more so the front of house aspect of like a super high end front of house service. And so he was still being exposed to like the kitchen and things like that. And it takes a little bit of crazy to enjoy the restaurant industry, and Peter and I both fit that category to some degree. And while we're going through our college life and still proceeding to go back and forth on different ideas of what restaurants that we miss or what type of cuisine that we love, I was able to do a few pop-ups through, not of my own, but join other people who gave me the opportunity, connect with some industry giants just on a whim. And kind of just get networked. Although they didn't give me a job there, I used that to network for other opportunities. Yeah. And eventually, I got my degree, and Peter's graduating, and I was traveling and still cooking and learning a lot. And I said, Peter, yo, why don't we just do a restaurant together? Just out of the blue. And he's like, you know what? That sounds. Why the heck not? We're young. Let's do it. Let's do something. And so we wanted to do. Man, like a teriyaki bowl, because if you go to the West Coast, teriyaki, like rice teriyaki and like a chicken salad is like a super big thing. Peter's family originally was from Seattle, and teriyaki chicken is phenomenal there. And I grew up at a place in Torrance called Rascals that's been doing teriyaki bowls for like 50 years. And it's just something that we just don't see in Georgia. Again, you can see a theme. Georgia is lacking on a lot of the food kind of waves. And so that was our initial thought, and then we're like, okay, maybe not, like, how does that tie into us as Koreans or Korean Americans? He's like, and then we got to a point where we said, let's do Korean fried chicken or Korean American fried chicken, where we're kind of taking elements from, and that's what Mukja is, which is our restaurant. It's taking Korean and American cultures, flavors, and techniques, and because that's who we are as people, Korean Americans, second generation Korean Americans, and kind of showcasing what that is. And so that our restaurant, it's not just for Koreans. Our restaurant, or it's not just a business that's just American, just using it to just have business. We wanted a space to tell a story of who we are as people. Like, we're the subgroup of people that are part of America. That's a smaller minority. Yet, we have this beautiful culture where we understand a lot of things that might not particularly be the norm when they see a Korean, but it is part of who we are. Like, for example, like Peter and I, we both grew up on Papa John's or Domino's Pizza, playing Halo on the Xbox with the boys on the weekends, listening to punk rock in the 2000s, like Blink-182 and things of that nature. And like, we had a very American, like, childhood growing up. But at the same time, but at the same time, we had the second life where we're going to Korean church, where in Korean communities, we're speaking, Peter doesn't speak much Korean, but I spoke a lot of Korean growing up and things of that nature. So there is this duality in our lives, yet that represents us wholly. And we wanted to tell that story through the food that we serve. So that's what Mukja is, and it's really hard for people to understand that still today, because they see Korean fried chicken, they automatically assume these major billion-dollar franchises that are here in America. So we're trying to rebrand into saying we're Korean American eatery that specializes in fried chicken. Where we can do really traditional Korean food. We can also do really like American food, and we can be anything in between. And that's all who we are as people. And we want to invite you to our restaurant to be a part of that and still feel these emotions of, hey, that's really familiar, or, whoa, that's completely different, or, oh wait, not used to these flavors, but it looks so familiar in the way that it's being served to me. Yeah, and just let people know in Atlanta, hey, let's embody and appreciate this diversity of so many different cultures that we have here, and we're just one small piece of the puzzle as Korean Americans.
Oh my gosh, this is the most inspiring conversation ever. What part of Atlanta is it in? Because I go there sometime for work. I want to come to the restaurant.
Yeah, we're in Midtown. So like the
Midtown.
heart,
Okay.
yeah, so airport, and then you take it to downtown is usually where a lot of the business meetings happens, but maybe
Yeah.
5 minutes up from downtown is called Midtown, and our restaurant's located right off Peachtree Street, which is one of the main streets of Atlanta, and Peachtree Place. Um,
Okay. I love how you have brought, like, when you said, like, this duality, it's almost like bringing that to the restaurant too. Like, do
mhm,
you think when people come in, like, I've never been, obviously, I want to go. Like,
yeah.
is your story told? Like, or is it you telling the story? Or how do you make sure that the essence of your brand and who you are and your mission is getting out there?
Yeah, lately I've been very busy trying to continue to grow the business, so I'm not at the store as often.
Okay.
But when I do, like the embodiment of that is me serving people. Like I don't care if I'm an owner, I don't mind serving or cooking if I have to, like or even having a conversation. And I think that's why a lot of our and sometimes I might not be at the restaurant all the time, but I'm always giving restaurant updates weekly in our newsletter to our followers, so they
Okay.
feel a very personal, like, oh wow, the owners like speaking to us and treating us as many shareholders of the company. And because I
Yeah.
want them to know it's a personable brand that really appreciates their business, and to know that their support is helping a small business grow into a wonderful story that pays the bills not just for myself but for the people that work hard for our business as well. But to answer your question, other than the food, the design elements of the restaurant, it's not your typical mom and pop shop. It's a black and white theme, very clean cut. The tables are more of a creamish tan. The reason being is we wanted kind of more of a simpler aesthetic where when you sit down and you eat, because there's a black foreground, like background, people, anybody that sits there in front, they're automatically highlighted because they're going to stand out from the black. And then the tables are cafe as well too, because they become the highlight of the table when you have a black background. So there's thought process in that, where we wanted the restaurant to not just be your regular random franchise or like mom and pop where they didn't really think much. They just went into a space and threw some tables and said, we're just going to cook food. Like, there's a lot of thought behind all of that.
Yeah.
And, people might not get that at first, and that's perfectly okay. But when they continue to invest themselves into coming and to get more interested of what Mukja's doing and growing to become, they start to ask questions and say like, oh, like, what is this all about? Like, why is your chicken a little bit different? Or like, what is it a franchise? Why does it look this way? And that's where I get to step in, where my team, gets to step in and say, hey, like, oh, this is us. This is who we are.
Okay, so I asked that for two reasons. One, because you are a very good storyteller, and I wanted us to like center ourselves in the restaurant. And like I can envision
Mm,
it now, of course, because you're a great storyteller. And then two, I figured there was a backstory, just like how much of yourself you bring to this. And I just wanted our audience to like fully understand how passionate you are. And like I knew even before I asked that there was a very thoughtful planning of even the design of the restaurants. Like I already knew that because I feel like I've gotten to know you through this.
thank you.
I do have another question about just the restaurant as a whole because obviously I bet you're an incredible cook.
Hmm.
Um, I can't wait to try it. I'm really gonna come. Don't worry. We're gonna have a picture. It's gonna be a whole thing. Do you like your kitchen? Is it one of like I know obviously it's like ADA for you to cook and everything, but do you
Hmm.
bring other people in who have interest in being a chef? Because it sounds like so many people told you no, but do you get to use your space as like a yes, like this is possible?
So what I do, I like to have outings with Shepherd Center where people who are freshly injured can come to the restaurant, and
Wow.
I actually don't recommend. And restaurants are a hard thing, so it's not for
Okay.
everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
If anything, I
Got a
said,
little
hey,
bit crazy.
go work in tech, go work in sales, go
Okay.
work from home with your disability. Don't. But I do want to. If you're crazy enough, here's how to make it work. And and more than the reason why we do those outings is to show people and give them that hope, like your life actually can go on and be normal. This is me, this is who I am. This is me at my restaurant, and let me serve you just a little bit to make your day at number one, and your tummy's happy. But number two, to show you life is bigger than just the hospital that you see right now. So, yeah, that's kind of what I use the restaurant for, on that aspect.
I wish I could like get you like a multi-million dollar like speaking motivational right now. Like, oh my gosh, you are so powerful and so inspiring. Like I didn't have a great day at work and I don't even remember that
Oh,
because I'm so invested like in you and the joy and what you're bringing, and I'm just so fortunate to be able to talk to you. Thank you for your time even when you had to pull over. Thank you so much. At the end of every episode, we do ask, if you had one piece of advice for, I'm talking to a lot of people, crazy things have happened to them,
yeah.
yourself included, to get on the other side, to get to where you are, to be that joy, to feel that joy. What is it, do you think? Do you think it's a personality type? Do you think like for you, is it your faith? Like what is it if you were going to tell someone who is in the exact same situation, like one piece of advice of like, there is life beyond, like, what would you say?
Oh, I mean, I'd love to give religious advice, but that's not super applicable for everybody. But the biggest advice I think that does apply for everybody, no matter what background or what religious background you have, is don't be afraid to ask for help. Too many times, I remember one time I was at a grocery aisle and I just started crying because like I couldn't reach the top shelf. It was something very stupid. And, and I was like, what am I doing? I asked that little grandma walking down the aisle, I was like, hey, excuse me, ma'am, can you just help me reach the ketchup at the top shelf? And she said, yes, of course, and, it's okay to be vulnerable and ask people for help when you need it. And too many times we live in a society where you're trying to figure things on your own, which if you can, by all means, you have the resources and you have the grit, by all means. But it's okay to be vulnerable, to break down and say, hey, I need a moment, but just know that you can't be stuck in that space. Like ask for help and be intentional about getting help, right? Because it's a multi-step process for that. First, you need to recognize that you need help. Second, you ask for help. Third, you grow from there, not to be stuck in level 2 and always asking for help, right? And that way, you get to have this community of people who are rooting for you, who want to uplift you, who want to take you to places that you never thought was possible. And that's how you get out of hard, dark places.
Oh, that was amazing. Oh my gosh. It's like another thing too, when you do ask for help and you are vulnerable, it's like people want to help. They want to. Like humans and our nature want to help. And I think, like you said, our society kind of makes you forget that. So thank you for the reminder. Thank you for the time. I'm going to include all the links and I want to sign up for the newsletter and all the things for people to reach you. You have been probably the best part of my week, and it's only Tuesday. I'm serious. Thank you, Sean. And I'll put everything if you want to get in touch. And if anyone's in Midtown, tell me the name of the restaurant one more time and where to find it.
Yeah, it's Mukja Korean Fried Chicken. It's located in Midtown off of Peachtree Street and Peachtree Place. We have validated parking, so don't worry. I know it's a big city, but we got you covered.
All right, awesome. Can't wait to go. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of When the Dog Bites with myself, Allison Maklick. These stories are real and these people are vulnerable and it's really impactful. And I hope that you walked away feeling inspired and knowing that when something like maybe your own dog bite happens, that you can face it with resiliency and know that you can do hard things. Tune in soon. We'll be back. Thank you.